33,741 minutes. That's the game time young players got in the Bundesliga last season, which is more than all its competitors. While other countries may produce the odd outstanding performer every few years, in Germany, barely a season goes by without the next youngster taking the senior stage by storm. In the last season, Jude Bellingham and Jamal Musiala were two of the Bundesliga's top performers, both finishing in the official team of the season despite being aged just 19 and 20 respectively. Bellingham was even named Player of the Season, showing maturity well beyond his years to wear the captain's armband on several occasions and thus become the youngest skipper in the Borussia Dortmund's history. If you are good enough, you're old enough. But why is Germany so good at producing these young talents? And what has it got to do with the 50+1 rule, the Euros, and increasing popularity of the Premier League? Let's find out. Germany is historically known to produce quality homegrown players. Of the 23-man national squad announced for the 2010 World Cup, 19 came from the Bundesliga academies, while the other 4 came from the Bundesliga 2 academies. A decade ago, the Bundesliga and the German FA made an agreement that to obtain a license to compete, a club must have and run an education academy. The results have been spectacular, as less money is spent on transfers and a vast array of talent is provided for the national team, which has had successful runs in all the major European and world competitions. In large part, it comes down to German football's revamp after the country's disappointing campaign at the Euros 2000, where they finished bottom of Group A with just 1 point from 3 games. Ever since then, professional clubs across the country must run and maintain youth academies, which have to meet strict criteria every year in order for the club to be granted its license to compete the following season. In short, given the time, energy, and financial investment in setting up such an infrastructure, it only makes sense to take advantage of it, rather than just investing heavily on the transfer market. But Germany is not only producing German players, but also attracting young talents as well. German top flight has become the go-to destination for the teenagers over the years. So how do the Germans do it? Simply put, by trusting their youngsters to perform. It is not a scattergun approach of throwing handfuls in at a time and hoping one of them survives, but by gradually improving them to the right level. Once there, they play. There are stats that prove why a good place to start is the Bundesliga. Italy is housing fewer and fewer young stars, especially ones that aren't Italian. Spain is loaded, but it is mostly the domain of the Spanish and Argentines. It's the Bundesliga that houses most of the young international talent in the world. The fact is that Spain has limits on foreigners, and England has work permit regulations. Meanwhile, Germany has few restrictions other than that a player must learn German. England puts an overvaluation on youth and rarely produces young stars. England may buy talented teenagers, but these players were almost always developed elsewhere. Simply put, there's no nation in the world with a better conveyor belt of talent than Germany right now. Not even Brazil or Argentina, traditionally the best nations at producing world-class talent in bulk, can take the title of best talent producer away from Germany right now. One of the principal factors in football is money. Nowadays in football, money is everything. Whichever team has the most money can buy the best players and coaches, and as a result, win the most trophies. This is particularly true in the Premier League. All the big 6 clubs and more recently Newcastle United have multi-billionaire owners who invest and compete to get the best players for their teams. It is not only the big clubs that have money though. Smaller clubs such as West Ham United and Aston Villa also have a decent amount, though not as much as the elite. However, many of the talented young English players they produce are either released or sent out on loan and never get a chance with the first team, even though they are potentially very talented, such as Jamal Musiala, who left the Chelsea's youth setup to join Bayern Munich, and at the age of 19 has already made his senior debut for Germany after switching nationalities from English to German. And he is a vital first-team player for Bayern, as well as one of the hottest young prospects in Europe. For the past few years, more and more foreign players have joined Premier League clubs, not just for the prestige, but also the money having a knock-on effect on English academy players. Liverpool played with 11 different nationalities against Manchester United at the Old Trafford this season. As a result, there are fewer opportunities for young English players at the top clubs. The best example of this was Jadon Sancho. Sancho was in City's academy from the age of 7 and progressed through the age groups, showing massive potential. However, City could not guarantee him game time, so he signed a senior contract with Borussia Dortmund. Over the next few seasons, he excelled in the Bundesliga, made his debut for England at just age 18, and became one of the hottest young prospects in Europe. In the past, most of the top European domestic leagues had roughly the same amount of money in comparison to each other. However, over the past years, more and more foreign billionaires have invested in clubs in the Premier League, as opposed to other elite European leagues such as the Bundesliga. As a result, other leagues have had to adapt in order to stay competitive. The Bundesliga has done this by clubs shifting focus from spending big money on players and instead investing in the youth setup in order to produce youngsters of the highest quality, and it has succeeded. At the moment, Dortmund have probably got one of the best pathways in Germany for young players to get into the first team, as illustrated by Jude Bellingham, who is one of the best young central midfield players in the world. The Bundesliga doesn't have the global profile of the Premier League, because it doesn't allow any foreign ultra-rich investor to buy any of the clubs. With revenues lower, the German clubs have tight budgets, the squad sizes of established first-teamers are smaller than in the Premier League. That's why giving time to young prospects make even more sense. Their wages are lower, which help reducing financial burdens on the clubs, and also these players come at a relatively small fees, and by developing them, they can ask for a huge sum in return. Like the transfer of Dembele for 135 million euros, Bellingham for 103 million, Kolo Muani for 95 million, Guardiola for 90 million, De Bruyne for 76, Sancho for 73, Havertz for 71, Pulisic and Haaland for 60 million, and Kunku and Werner for 55 million, and the list goes on. Whether or not Bundesliga will become as big as the Premier League, one thing that sets the German league apart from any of its competitors is the culture. The Bundesliga has the highest average attendances in Europe, stadiums that are full every week, terracing, and low ticket prices. With respect to Dortmund, Gladbach, and Leverkusen, they are unlikely to be competing with London or New York for tourism anytime soon. They are not the brightest of lights. There's less to sway a rich young professional footballer, and there's less of a blingy culture in Germany by comparison with some young Premier League players. The culture in the German dressing room is different. The players tend to have better educational levels than in England. They are less showy, less materialistic. It's far more down to earth. If you get carried away, then the rest of the guys in the group will frown upon it. You'll become an outsider.
Germany, I think you don't realise that you kind of giving up the lifestyle that you had in England because it's so different, do you know what I mean? And my mum's been brilliant with me over here, kind of making me feel comfortable and at home. And, I kind of just feel like Germany is my second home now.
There are many factors as well. German clubs don't pay their youngsters badly, but Premier League clubs tend to overpay their young players before they made it to the first team. Every year a young player gets his big move out of the Bundesliga. That's the trend. As the 2023-24 season is coming to an end, which would be the next big move out of Germany?